Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is your favorite Dark Sorcerer here, and tonight we're going to discuss alignments in pacts. Since this is one of the two top things that have been placed upon the poll upon the Facebook group, I thought I would do this video right now. Now, what does it mean to align yourself? Aligning yourself with a spirit is a lot different than aligning yourself with a current. Aligning yourself with a current is like aligning yourself with the forces of hell or the certain pantheons out there, like the Egyptian, the Greek, the Roman, the Norse, Slavic, and such. A lot of the time, people mistake this for being protected. The truth is that you're not protected at this point. You're not aligned with the beings of that said pantheon. To do that, you've got to be adept in pact making and aligning yourself with spirits. Okay? So, why don't we talk a little bit about this? Throughout the old folklore, there are 4 types of pacts that have been recognized throughout the ages, spanning back hundreds of thousands of years. The first we can view from the Mesopotamian aspects. This is done through Mephistopheles. Mephistopheles is known as a trickster spirit. So you really want to take the time to contemplate, reflect, perhaps even sleep upon your pact that you want to make. Make sure that you word it correctly and without any loopholes. More so, you really want to make sure that you and that spirit are in complete agreement upon what you are trying to accomplish with that spirit and why you went with that spirit. Learning the specific strengths and weaknesses doesn't help doesn't really help either, but it does give you that sense of how to protect yourself if something should, say for an example, go awry. Working with a trickster spirit like, say, Mephistopheles or that of Loki in Norse mythology, these are beings that will turn your desires into something more arcane. Okay, more dark age material, if you wish. Hey, Holly. Salute 367 and Seeking Serpent 6. Welcome to the channel. Now, what's ironic here is when you look at making a pact, you really want to look at what your agenda is. What are you looking to do? Let's look at let's say for an example, you're looking for, let's go with sitting comfortably within your life. Let's say for an example, you like your job, but you'd like to be a little higher up in the food chain, like say team lead, or perhaps even or let's say for an example, perhaps even an ASM or store manager. Okay, something that will bring you great benefits, lucrative income, you know. But let's face it, a team lead is not more richer than, say, a regular team member. So you really want to look at how you word your pact. Look at the spirit that you're working with. For an example, let's look at, like I said, Mephistopheles. He's a trickster, so you really want to look at how you're going to approach him. Make sure to detail dotting every I and, say, for an example, crossing every T. What are you seeking? But also, what can you do for that spirit? More so, if we go into other pantheons in the same case, let's look at, say, for an example, more honest spirits, such as Asmodeus, okay, Asmodai, okay, a demon known and portrayed as a king amongst the Goetia, one of the 9 Goetic kings to be precise. He's known as a demon of lust or desire, but he's also known as a demon of wrath. See, the wrath part comes from the Book of Tobit, and the Book of Tobit is a Jewish text which showed him being or lusting after a human woman, much in the same way as the Watcher Angels who took wives unto themselves. Okay, within chapter 6 of the biblical, or the, say for example, the Book of Enoch. Now these types want, like Asmodeus, wanted to be with this one particular woman, not multiple women, but one woman in particular. And she kept going for, well, let's just say she kept it in the family, so to speak. She went through every single brother until the last brother was associating with an angel, a higher angel, who told him about a certain fish that had a gallbladder that could be used to ward him off. And they lived happily ever after because of this. That not only did the journey go well to their meeting, but also their return journey and the rest of their lives because he listened to this angelic being. But the fact is that he was so wrathful, he eliminated 7 of the 8 brothers. 7 of the 8 brothers. That's kind of wrathful. Got to give him that. But you got to look at the desire of it, though. You got to look at the lust of it. But not everything is about lust in that fashion. But like I said, let's look at it from a business perspective. You want to go for lucrative, right? Something that will benefit you so you can live comfortably. Now, Magi and Sage really don't, they're not, they don't really make big bucks. They really don't. It's not a path that you get into to make money. So it's more of the fact that you want to look at Asmodeus as the lust or the desire, the personalized desire to reach this goal. So you'd go with him, and then you would go with, like, say, for an example, Paimon. Paimon has the ability to persuade men's minds. Belial, who's spoken of through multiple texts and grimoires throughout the last 1,000 years, but also goes all the way back to the ancient scrolls, the Dead Sea Scrolls, through Sanskrit. Now, what's ironic here is that he bestows titles, senatorships, ranks of importance. Okay? And he also gives excellent familiars. Okay? There could be dogs, cats, snakes, even a rodent, but it comes down to what you're looking for, and it comes down to what you're trying to go for. Now, these beings mixed in with Beleth can really persuade things into your boat, your way of doing things. But like I said, you really want to open up that that door of going both ways, much like those old saloon type doors that you see in Western movies. They kind of rock back and forth. You can go in, you can go out type thing. Because of the fact that when you make a pact with any given demon, especially a blood pact, you really want to look at him and say, okay, this is what I'm trying to go for. I'm willing to make this pact with you, but what can I do for you in return? Okay? As Mephistopheles is not that kind of being. Okay? He's looking to make a quick deal, and he wants something out of it. It can be anything. Okay? Each pact is different. Each person and each demon, their pacts are different, but you have to find that common ground. Mephistopheles is not that type of being. He's the type of being that will give it to you. But remember, he is also a trickster and can turn it around on you. Okay? Have you learned nothing from Hollywood produced films or that of history? Okay? Now, the next in the categorization is what is known as infernal pacts. Infernal pacts is a pact that you make with Lucifer Raphael. Lucifer Raphael is known as the infernal scribe and pact maker. Okay, and this is really where you align yourself not only with the current, but with this type of force. Okay, when we look at, say, for example, the Demerge, you want to align yourself with hell, especially if you're a Satanist or a demonologist. Okay, you want to get to know the demons. You've chosen to work for Satan, or you've aligned yourself with Lucifer. Okay, and the Grimoire demonic. Okay, so therefore, aligning yourself with a current is one thing, but aligning yourself and making that infernal pact, this is where things really will benefit you. Okay, and especially in the long run. And this is why. You look at your life and what you're looking to accomplish. When you've aligned yourself, you're not only gaining entrance into their world, you're able to do things and align yourself more easily with high ranking entities such as Lucifer, Beelzebub, Astaroth. Okay, and not just them. There are numerous different hierarchies that have been recorded over the past 2,500 years and within many different grimoire systems. Okay, and this is the thing that you can actually look at when you study demonology. You look at the type of demon or the type of entity. A lot of times, the ranked is who you make pacts with. You make these type of deals with. And making a pact, especially an infernal pact, will open these doors up to the third type of pact, which will make it a lot easier for you, especially if you're really dedicated within your path, within your chosen field of study and practice. Okay? If you're into voodoo, then, look at the Loa that you're into. Look who you're working with, like say Dambella or Baron Samedi, maybe Papa Nebo in Hoodooism. You know, perhaps even maybe getting into the Ugand. You know, maybe Santa Morte or La Santa Morte. You know, look at Angelics. The Fallen. Like say the seven princes of sin or the seven crown princes of the air, the Salamantic texts, okay? Whatever system of demonology that has a hierarchy in it. These are the beings that you really want to look at because they all have different abilities. Most of which, especially through the Goetia, a lot of them can tell you the past, present, future, and lead you to hidden treasure. But then you got those few that can teach you geometry, science, arithmetic, different things that comes it literally comes down to what you're looking for, okay, and what you're looking to do. And in this case, you can literally go to Lucifer's Raquel. Number one, any deal, any pact that you make, he records. So let's say, for an example, you've made a deal with a spirit. Let's say, for an example, just out of hypothetical perspective. Let's say, for an example, you go with Astaroth, okay, or Ariok, okay, maybe even Sabnuk, and you made a pact with them. You made a demonic pact with them, okay, and that's the third type of pact, by the way, demonic pact. And I'll get into this a little bit deeper. Let's say, for example, you make a demonic pact with this one entity, and after, say, oh, I don't know. Let's give it a good amount of time, 6 months to a year. You've made in the pact. Let's say, for example, they are to open up the doors and so that you can have this within, say, 6 months to a year. Okay, and in return, you're willing to do something for them. Okay. Now, let's say, for an example, that half of a year to a year has gone by, and this specific entity has not fulfilled their end of the deal. Then you can go to Lucifer's Raquel and you can petition them, petition him, okay, and say, hey, I made this deal with this such and such a demon or this such and such an entity, and they have not lived up to it. As of now, I am ceasing all activity with that entity until they fulfill their obligation to our pact, our deal, our alignment. Okay. Now, alignments and pacts are a little different. Yes, you've made a deal with them. Yes, you've made a pact with them, but you've also dedicated yourself to their study and their practice. Okay. Basically, becoming their apprentice. That's what an alignment is. A pact, on the other hand, is a specific request that you petition for with that entity. Okay, think of your goal, your agenda, maybe, kind of like what you did back in high school where they did those little questions of where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? Those of you who, are employed that are going and seeking, new jobs, how many of these potential employers have asked you that question? Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years if you become employed with us? Okay, same exact thing. Same exact thing. And it's ironic how many times I see this. Okay. Lucifer Raquel is that scribe. Okay. So therefore, he can go in, look at this, and then he can bring it before the court. Okay. Say Satan's court. Okay. And say, okay, this deal was made. This entity is not living up to their half of the deal, their half of the bargain. Or say, for example, perhaps the demon has said this about the practitioner. Okay, same exact thing. They can take it to the court, and this is where that court can decide. Okay, this is what's going to happen. You either do this or you don't do this. Do we dissolve it, or do we redefine it to a more sincere agreement? Okay, there's a lot of things that can go on within that situation. So a demonic pact really is between you and that ranked being. And it doesn't matter what system that you're in, okay? You're going to find this ranked being right there, okay? Like I said, it can be Lucifer, Beelzebub, Astaroth, the unholy trinity from the Grimoire systems, or you can go into the Goetic demons and go with princes, dukes, marquis, okay, even the kings, okay, and work with them. Okay? Aligning yourself with the current only gets you so far, but aligning yourself and making deals with independent demons, this will get you a lot further. Now, one of the ones that I mentioned earlier about in my last video about aligning yourself with a more spiritual journey. Let's say, for an example, you've had enough with this mundane bullshit. Okay. Let's say, for an example, you are tired of the same old, and you've decided to dedicate yourself solely to the self evolution. Okay. Satanists really develop a sense of I'm aligning myself with the current of Satan, with Lucifer, or with Azazel. Okay. Now, Azazel is known as the ancient darkness. He's the alchemist. He's the one that taught men how to forge shields and weapons. He's also spoken of in the book of Enoch and in the book of Leviticus as referenced with the scapegoat, okay, within Hebrewism and Judaism, okay? Now, what's ironic and interesting about this is that you can literally become more through alchemical based changes, through your magics, through your rituals, okay, through your spiritualism. You can literally decide, okay, I'm done with this world. I'm dedicating myself solely to furthering my career in the other worlds. Okay. Now, what's ironic is throughout history, we've seen where the old wives' tales, the old folklores, the mythologies of half breeds really does play a part in spiritualism because they are sons or daughters of one race and another. Okay. You look at the Nephilim, for an example. Espen Cayenne really delved into this aspect within one of his books. And when I inquired about it, he introduced me to a few other sources of materials that I found very, very interesting. And it really opened my eyes, so to speak, to what a Nephilim really is. You know, if we look at the biblical point of view, a Nephilim is known as the renowned and the wise beings, okay? Men of renown and wisdom, you know, which is in the sixth chapter of Genesis, okay? But in the book of Enoch, they became associated with destruction, anarchy, you know, abomination, so to speak. So when we get into grimoire systems, we see this again, but more of the sense of demons. Okay. The word demon in Greek, the daemon is someone a spiritual being that is beneficial to mankind. The coco daemon, on the other hand, is considered to be very, very baneful, harmful. So when we look at the classifications of entities, we see the ranked and we see the unranked. The unranked would be the chaos version. Okay, these are the ones that are chaotic. They are hostile, and in most of the discussed possession cases, these are the types that have been notarized. Okay, it is very rare for high-ranking or a ranked being to actually be categorized within a state of possession. So, and we see this throughout not only the grimoire systems, but we also see this within spiritualism from multiple different religious perspectives. Not only their characteristics as individuals. So, a demonic, in this case, we're looking at what is known as a dark pact. A dark pact is where you're basically willing to evolve into something more than human. Okay? In the Red Book of Amun, it discusses how to become a sorcerer. And to do that, you must be trained by another sorcerer. Okay? Which really classifies the old stories of two. Okay? I'm not talking about the Star Wars mythos, so don't even freaking bring that up. Okay? When I when you look at the Sith, we're talking the Sadi, okay, the people of the mounds. This is you can actually look this up, the Irish and Scottish entities in folklore, okay. But when you look at necromancy, there's always those depictions and photos on Google where you see the master and the apprentice standing in a graveyard. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. And it's not just there. I mean, if you spread out into Hermeetics or Klipothic or Kabbalah, even traditional witchcraft, you're going to find the master and the apprentice. You know, you're going to find the teacher and the student. You know, because they go hand in hand. I mean, even back in ancient Gaelic systems, you see the druids always being the men of wisdom. Okay, whereas they're the spiritual, how should I say this, intermediaries between the spiritual realm and the mundane. And you see two classifications there as well. You see the druid and the Durak. The Durak is known as a dark oak, whereas the druid is known as a wise oak, white oak. Okay, someone of renowned respectability. You go into Vudan, you got the Hagan or the Hugan and the Mamba versus the Bokor. Okay, the light and dark aspects. You go into various other traditions, you're going to see this. You know, Satanism is basically classified and viewed as the bad guy to the church. You know, so I mean, this stuff is not going to come easy to the practitioner, and it's not for the faint of heart. So, I mean, when somebody decides to dedicate themselves to higher learning, to self evolution, to becoming better, even than who you are and what you are, and you're really dedicated not only to sorcery but to the system that you're in. A dark pact is a way to evolve beyond. Some even view them as Nephilim, others use them as, say, for an example, in the old Greek definitions and stories of, say, for an example, Homer's Odyssey or the tale of the drowning witch or whatever, there's always the mundane viewpoint of ascendance into the underworld, you know, either for purification processes such as an Anna or Astarte, Erishkigal even, you know, whereas in the male perspective, you have Odysseus. You in Homer's Odyssey, you have the seven tests and trials of Hercules. Okay. Again, this stuff plays into pacts and alignments with currents. You know, the deal with Hercules was that he went to his stepmother and Hera and said, made a deal with her that if he, accomplished these seven trials underneath this king's views, then she would leave him alone. Okay. Homer's Odyssey, on the other hand, it's kind of like a story of rescuing a dame in distress, so to speak. A lot of these folk tales and stories are just that way. You know, unlike the sage and mages, it's a whole lot different. It's about becoming better. It's about evolution. It's about that alchemical change. You know, even E.A. Wedding and spoke of the Black Earth. He spoke of black alchemy of Belial. So I mean, a lot of these entities can help you. They can teach you. They can guide you, especially if you're aligned with them through some form of pact. Okay, it could be something quick, you know, something that can be manifested very quickly if you've got the foresight to watch how you speak it. With Mephistopheles, or aligning yourself with the currents of, say, the underworld or a specific system through Lucifer's Raquel, or even aligning yourself with a specific entity. Okay, they can help you a lot in any given situation. And a pact is just the beginning. It is just the beginning. All right. So take that into an account when you get into your path further. I would also recommend that you do a lot of research into not only the entities that you are working with, but I would also recommend that you do a lot of study and practice, okay? Experimentation, so to speak. When you study on the different types of pacts and what they entail, a lot of the new age stuff will tie things into video games or some kind of board games or even role playing games. Okay, making a pact like say D&D or say for an example the Star game or through the ONA, perhaps some form of Hollywood produced propaganda. Okay, it's actually far from the truth. Okay, you really want to go back into history. You want to see how it was actually practiced and get away from the falsity of these fallacies. Okay, delve into the research of the pacts, delve into alignments, go through multiple different root workings, okay, path workings, traditions, and see how they do pacts. Okay, Santa Morte on a Harley. Hello. I think this is the first time you've been on this channel, or at least mine, anyways. So, welcome to the channel. So, anyways, as I was saying, um, you really want to do your research. You really want to do your homework. Find the strengths and weaknesses, but also find the commonalities. Because a lot of times you're going to be utilizing things like herbs or things like concoctions to help you get into a trance state, or even to do a summoning with a grisgris bag. Okay, black magic, sorcery. It deals with a lot of stuff, and there's just so much that I can talk about just on this alone. Um, Satanism is something that a lot of people fear. There's a lot of different methods utilized from traditional Satanism compared to that of, say, theistic Satanism or even spiritual Satanism. I mean, you take Reverend Cain's work of the Unholy Bible. Okay, he gives a small little invocation for a renunciation and aligning yourself through alignments. You got Alistair Notch, who's a long-term spokesperson for theistic Satanism. He actually has a few good ones in his books. From I believe it was in either the Satanic Magic book or it was in the Satanic Rituals book. I can't remember which offhand. A former traditional Satanist by the name of Robert Fraze wrote a book called Satan's Bible. He actually had a good one in there, but it revolved around taking a bath and calling upon Leviathan, the mate of Tiamat, who he worshipped and thought was the dark god, or in this case, the chaos goddess. So I mean, and then you have, of course, Anton Zandalove, who in his book, The Satanic Bible, has the invocation to Satan, where he's called forth in alignment and you're asking for him to bestow your wishes upon you. Okay, so there is a lot of different sources and a lot of different methodologies out there that have their own unique annotation, alignments, and pact makings. I would recommend getting into either Santa Morte or Santeria, even Palo Mayombe. Palo Mayombe is, whew, trust me, they got some good ones there, depending on which house you're getting into. Voodoo, that's more of a free for all, so to speak. But you do have to be initiated into it. A lot of these traditions you do have to be initiated into. And a lot of times you're going to be paying an arm and a leg, but it's well worth it in the end. Okay. So, like I said, look at the entities you want to work with, look at your own agenda and your own goals. And most importantly, study the different types of pacts. Okay. Like I said, those pacts are called the Blood Pact, the Demonic Pact, the Infernal Pact, and the Black and the Dark Pact. Okay. So really delve into those. Okay. And try to shy away from the modern day propaganda aspects because trust me, you won't get very far with those because a lot of times they go into some form of board game or role playing game or whatever. But you will find a few good links out there that will help you understand the difference between them because there are actually very few practitioners out there that literally will go into details about them. All right. Yeah, basically, that sounds about right. I mean, you consider you got Witches of East End, you have Charmed, you have what is it, the originals, I think it is. You got the Vampire Diaries. All of these are hilarious. I mean, if they actually knew what these lifestyles were actually like, you know what I'm saying? Seeking Serpent, you know, it's a lot different than how they make it out to be. And it takes a lot of dedication and a lot of work. It's something that you're not gonna get into, you know, you're not gonna master overnight. It's something that takes years. It's something that takes decades even. Now, you consider I've been practicing for 30 years, you know, Satanism, witchcraft, shamanism, Palo Mayumbi, Santa Morte. You know, over the last few years, I've gotten into Santeria. I've gotten into Voodoo, okay? But most importantly, over the last year and a half, you know, what has it been now? A year and wow, yeah, that's mind blowing. A year and 8 months. Whew, as a necromancer. So yeah, it's something, and I can tell you just over the last 18 months, you know, just practicing necromancy, there's so much there. So much. It's mind blowing. Get into it, delve into it, research it, dedicate yourself to it, and see where it leads you. All right. With that said, I want to thank Holly, Seeking Serpent, Santa Morte on a Harley, and Salute 367 for showing up. All right. So, with that said, have a good night, and until next time.